Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Just dandy.
Can you do me a favor? Tell me your name.
William Rimmer.
William Rimmer. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Which branches of the service were you in?
I was in the Army for a year, and I was in the Navy for 4.
Can you, what era? What years?
65 to 69.
65 to 69. What was your rating, your job?
I was a second-class engineman, E5.
So what does that entail?
I took care of engines, and evaporators, made fresh water, and basically I was a mechanic, only on the boats.
Okay, so on the big boats like the aircraft carrier?
Well, no, I didn't go on an aircraft carrier, but the ship I was on, we pulled into Vietnam and to get supplies, and they needed second-class enginemen for the riverboats. So that's what I did for 15 months. I went up and down the Mekong taking the Navy SEALs teams up to Da Nang.
I have heard of the river rats.
Oh, did you ever see the movie Apocalypse Now?
Yes, sir.
That's what I did.
That's what you did.
I did twin 50 calibers on the front. I used to cut down trees with them, and a few other things. Well, I won't go into that. But, and they would throw spears at us and everything else. It was unbelievable. I carried a Winchester Model 12 shotgun. When you're checking the sampans, you can't swing a 16 around. So I bought a Winchester Model 12 off a guy going back to the States. I gave him $50 for it and carried double-aught buck. Awesome weapon, close up. And I went to Yokosuka, Japan for R&R for 2 weeks. And I came back, and then I got on my regular ship and came back to the States. I caught a round in my knee, and I wound up at Portsmouth Naval Hospital for 6 months. But other than that, no problems. I'm getting a nice pension from them, plus my New York State pension, and I just set myself up.
So
We had some dandies at the prison, we had David Berkowitz, son of Sam, he was there. Mark David Chapman, the guy that shot Lennon, he was up there.
So you were part of Department of Corrections for New York State, sir?
30 years, yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, I started out as a correction officer, and I wound up as a lieutenant. I got a bachelor's degree in criminology, and I opened Attica, and there was 8 prisons in the state of New York when I got in there. When I left in 2001, there were 70 prisons in the state of New York, all mostly drug-related. And they were making prisons out of old TB hospitals and Nike bases, and that were obsolete. And I opened about 6 of them, up in the Adirondacks and all, Syracuse, and but mainly I stayed at Attica when I wasn't working in other prisons.
So it sounds like you've done a lot for society and given back.
Yeah, I've got accommodation from corrections. I've got, it just, I treated the inmates the way I wanted them to treat me. And during the riot, some of the guards that were really nasty to the inmates, when they held them hostage, they did things to them you wouldn't believe. And that was when I first started. So I said to myself, there's no sense in being nasty. They don't want to be there any more than I do. And so I treated the inmates halfway decent, and I always got along, once in a while there was a fight or something like that. But other than that, it was a good job.
How do you think the military training and lifestyle got you ready to be a
Unbelievable.
corrections officer?
Yeah.
Like How did that impact that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was a good start. I mean, so actually, I went in the prison system, you know, and the next day, they held the riot, and they took 29 hostages, and I was up on the roof with a 270. And when the state police came in and took the prison back, they dropped the gas with the helicopter, and they told whoever is standing up, you're dead. So, you know, we're up on the roof of an administration building, 300 feet in the air, and these hostages are all tied up and spit on and so on and so forth. And when they dropped the gas, they took their blindfolds off, and they could see us up there, and they're running. You know, they were supposed to lay down on the ground, and they saw us up there, and they run towards us. Hey, I'm a hostage. They dressed the hostages in inmates' clothing. I didn't know who they were. You know, I'm 300 feet up in the air, and they're running towards us. Oh, it was terrible. 29 people died that day. I'll never forget it as long as I live.
You mentioned that you had a degree. Did you use the GI Bill to get that degree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I went to college. I got my bachelor's degree. Well, I worked in the prison during the day, and at night I went to college. Uncle Sam paid for all that.
So that's a good benefit.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just got some hearing aids, and they were $3,000. And Uncle Sam paid for those.
Well, he's taking care of you. That's
Oh,
good.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I can go to any VA hospital if I want to. You know, it was terrible while you were in there. You know, they were shooting at you, but I got over it, and then I went to work for the prison. So, you know, one and another.
One difficult situation to another.
Oh, yeah. But Attica prison, you know, it's a maxi. As a matter of fact, my wife's grandfather was an old prison guard. He and the inmates built Attica. And the walls go up 32 foot high in the air, and they go down 32 foot high. Because it was the first wall they put up was quicksand, and it went down, so they had to build another wall on top of that. So nobody ever escaped from Attica prison.
They're not digging down 32 feet?
I don't think so. But I had quite a life. You know, I got a wife, ex-wife actually. I was married 3 times.
We've all been there.
Got 2 boys, 3 grandchildren, and I came to Florida because, you know, being up in Buffalo, I mean, the snow was terrible. And so the first day I got retired, I packed my car and came to Florida. I've been here 14 years. I love it down here. No more snow. I'll never touch another snow shovel again.
It's a beautiful state.
It is. I love it here. Well, my parents had a house in Daytona Beach, and I used to come down a lot and stay with them, you know, and I had a motorcycle. I'd come down for bike week, you know, and so on and so on. But I've always loved Florida. So I said, as soon as I retire, heading for the Florida.
So you mentioned that you had grandkids. If your grandchild was sitting in my chair, what advice would you give them about joining the military? Yes, no, or?
I would, yeah, my son was in the Navy for 4 years. He was down San Diego on a Nimitz, a carrier. And he got his master's degree through Uncle Sam. He said, Dad, he said, all these young men were there. They were up to their necks in debt for their education. Mine is free. So I would recommend the service to anybody.
I'm glad to hear that.
Especially my sons and you know, my grandson, when he grows up, I'm going to talk him into it, hopefully, but we'll find out.
Is there any story that you would like to share with us about your military service, or?
Well, I don't know. Vietnam was. I loved the Navy because I got to see the world 3 times. But Vietnam, I just. I'd rather not talk about. Anything else in the Navy. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, just a camaraderie story, buddy. I mean, did you go over the equator? Are you a shellback or?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's you got to kiss it. Yeah. Were you in? Did you do that?
I'm a shellback, sir.
Yeah. You got to kiss it. Oh, never mind. But they threw mud and everything on you, but it was all in fun. I mean, once you go across the equator, that's the first thing they do. So, and you better keep that shellback card too, because if you go on another ship and they go across the equator, you better have proof you were, because they'll do it all over again. I'm serious. You know what I'm talking about. But basically, if my wife hadn't have been pregnant, I'd have stayed in. I'd have made a career out of the Navy. I loved it. I like seeing things. You meet all kinds of people, and it's just it was a great experience. I'll never forget it.
Kind of took you out of your hometown life.
Oh yeah. I grew up real quick. Let me tell you.
In your travels with the Navy, what was your favorite place?
Well, I was stationed down in Norfolk, and I was on the Gator Navy in Little Creek, Virginia. I enjoyed it very much down there. But basically, I used to hitchhike home. I was getting $86 a month. In '65, yeah, I was getting $86 a month. And they would pay you in cash, $2 bills. It was something else, but I made so many friends, and I still am in contact with many of them today. Quite a few have died. I'm older than dirt, so but I'll never forget it. We used to hitchhike a lot, and from Norfolk to Batavia, where I lived, just outside of Buffalo. I was hitchhiking, but everybody was in Vietnam there, and the families and stuff. I never had trouble getting a ride, and they stop and get you dinner and stuff. Hey, do you know my son down in? No, I don't. There's 6 million sailors down there. I don't know your son. But you get the Navy and the Marines would pick us up, and I always had a ride. I enjoyed it. I met my wife. My mother introduced my wife to me, and we were married for 43 years. And
Congratulations.
Yeah, she's living in Maryland right now, but we broke up at 43 years. But other than that, I just had a great life. I'll never forget anything.
You mentioned the camaraderie and the brotherhood that
Oh,
has built the
God.
esprit de corps.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people will never understand that.
No,
like we
well,
do.
they can't. They walk a mile in my shoes. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can say about that. But other than that, the service I really grew up. I used to box when I was young, and I boxed in the Navy, light heavyweight, and we used to get up in the morning in Little Creek, and we'd run 5 miles in the sand with weights on our legs. We'd run with the UDT and the underwater demolition guys and stuff like that. I was in great shape. Weighed 186 pounds, romping, stomping dead. But I had 22 fights, boxing, and I only lost 2. The others were mostly decisions, but they were just 3-rounders. They weren't 10 rounds or 20 rounds or whatever they are. But I've always kept myself in shape. I'm up to 190 right now, but I was 300 at one time. Yeah, I was a porker. I lost weight. I quit eating and drinking, and I'm down to 190 right now. So I want to stay there.
You look good.
I feel good. I know I do. I really, for my age, I feel good.
So do you have any words of wisdom to share? Not to put you on the spot, just
Words of wisdom to who? Anybody?
anybody.
Go into service if you can and get your education if you can. Let Uncle Sam pay for it and get a great job and just, have a good life. That's all I can say.
Well, I would very much like to thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate your time today. On behalf of the Pinellas County Veterans Association, we do appreciate your time. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.